But I don't get why they get sanctioned and Mahmoud Abbas does not, or people like him. I mean, it's quite extraordinary to me, and that's what really disturbs me here. It seems the Australian government's attitude to Israel is pretty one-sided now, and I just wonder how the Australian government is now seen in Israel.
Well, I won't get into the hypocrisy business because that's more an internal Australian issue. But of course, one can ask, and one should ask questions, if one puts sanctions on people as extreme as Ben-Gvir and Smotrich, is that being applied throughout the international community, including in the Middle East and other countries, as you mentioned? And the truth is that Ben-Gvir and Smotrich have made statements which are so unbelievably awful. You mentioned that in your opening remarks. That many of us in Israel, or the vast majority of us, feel absolutely reviled by calls to wipe out an Arab village, which Smotrich said last year after a terrorist outrage, and later backtracked, said he doesn't mean the people, he means all this type of positing. It's really quite abominable for almost all of us. As far as how Australia is viewed in Israel, I think it depends more, Andrew, on who you're talking about. The government, obviously, as you've seen, is obviously very upset with the Australian position on the current government is very on the Middle East, on the Gaza war, on Israel and the Palestinians. And they've made that position quite known publicly on a number of occasions. But I think if you're looking at the wider public, the general public, I'm not 100% sure they're tuned in or they're honed in on Australia and its approach to the Middle East and to Israel. If one thing that has affected us very greatly here in Israel among the general public is the issue of anti-Semitism in Australia, which we've seen the synagogue being attacked. We've seen we all remember the despicable state of screaming in the streets against Israel, against Jews, the demonstrations in Federation Square in Melbourne, et cetera, et cetera. And these get very high prominence here. And people often ask, and I must, is enough being done? It's in certain aspects a hypothetical question, but the clampdown must be total and the punishment must be overriding. And a lot of people ask here, is Australia doing enough to clamp down on the anti-Semitism within the country? That, I think, is more of an issue in the general public, which are much less knowledgeable about how Australia views the Middle East and how Australia views the Israel-Gaza equation.
Well, Mark Sofer, the answer to that, is enough being done? The answer is quite clear. No, it is not. Mark Sofer, thank you very much indeed for your time. Really appreciate it.